Hi, everyone. In a recent live stream, we went through an article that discusses Prince Harry's disappointment when Princess Diana's sisters and brother didn't really see any similarities between Meghan and Princess Diana. We had a really great conversation, and I wanted to share it with you in case you weren't able to make it to the live stream. So let's get into it. But before we begin, here's the intro. Welcome to Revealing the Narc. Join me as I highlight narcissistic traits in celebrities and public figures. Everything here is in my opinion and not professional advice. If you enjoy the analysis, please like and subscribe. This was in the Daily Mail, and it's titled, Prince Harry Wanted Princess Diana's Sisters to See Similarities Between Meghan Markle and his mother, but they didn't think she fit in with the royal family, according to royal experts. The article begins, it says Diana had three siblings, Lady Sarah, Lady Jane, and Charles Spencer, and was particularly close to her brother, who was the closest in age to the late princess. Not able to go to his mother for approval, Harry went to his aunt's to introduce his girlfriend, Meghan Markle, in late 2017 before the couple were married the following year. He told the BBC that he thought Diana would have been over the moon about his relationship with Meghan, but the sisters were not in agreement. Royal biographer Tom Bower wrote about this meeting in his explosive tell-all book, Revenge, Meghan, Harry, and the War Between the Windsors. So the next part, instead of showing how the Daily Mail paraphrased that section in Tom Bower's book, I actually went and I pulled the quote because I want to hear straight from the source what was said. And this is what it says. It says, by then, Harry had introduced Meghan to Diana's two sisters, Lady Jane and Sarah, and her best friend, Julia Samwell. Harry assumed that Diana's family and friends would see a similarity between Diana and his fiancée. Both, he said, shared the same problems. He was disappointed. No one agreed that his vulnerable mother had anything in common with his girlfriend. More discomforting for him, they thought Meghan would not fit in with the royal family. And how right were their instincts, right? And it's interesting to me that when Harry is comparing Meghan to Diana, he's comparing their problems. They shared the same problems. That really stands out to me. And when he was introducing them, he genuinely believed that they would look at Meghan and immediately recognize shades of Diana. And it's weird because to him, it's almost like Meghan's not just a partner, and this is something we've all talked about, that she's a living continuation of his mother's story, and that's heavy, right? It feels like he's trying to resolve that grief. We know that, we can see through his actions it is, and it explains why, um, he has sunk the way he has, right? Oh, you got it, Kathy. You got it. Carol says also Jane Fellows was married to Robert Fellows, who was the former private secretary to the Queen. Yes, Carol. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't Diana call him one of the men in gray suits or something like that? Let me know if I'm wrong. Yeah. Yeah, shows you he knows nothing about his mother. When he goes to approach his family and they seem to reject it, to Harry, this is not a personal rejection. It's symbolic because they didn't just think Meghan wasn't a good match for Harry. They also thought she wouldn't fit in with the royal family at all. So Meghan didn't pass the Diana Circle test. Basically, when you take this all together, it seems this is not just a simple disagreement. It was a total reality check for Harry. And Harry had this narrative in his mind. He had this romanticized thread connecting Diana and Meghan. And the people that actually knew Diana, they did not see it. Let's continue on with the article. Oh, okay. Sorry, I forgot. Then I wanted to go into how Harry describes this interaction in 2017. And guess what? It's not in the book. It's not in there. Harry mentions visiting Diana's grave with Meghan alongside her sisters, but this is happening, I believe, after they were married. It's framed as this deeply emotional moment, like he's seeking some kind of spiritual blessing. But what's just as important in the book is what's not. So there is no conflict that's mentioned here. There's no pushback, no sign that the people closest Diana felt any discomfort about this comparison. And I think, a lot of us have thought that Meghan may have been a very heavy-handed influence on the writing of Spare. And that's when it hit me. The red flag isn't just the comparison, it's the careful omission of anyone who challenged it. So if Meghan did have a hand in Spare, and to me, certainly she did, we're not just seeing storytelling, we're seeing narrative control, because this is what works in narcissistic dynamics. They don't just crave attention, they reshape reality. And that's not love, that's projection. Pancho says it's one thing that Harry has disturbing issues with the Diana Meghan comparison, but it's much more disturbing. Yes. Yes, Pancho, exactly. She takes advantage of it. And she encourages it, right? She absolutely encourages it. Thank you, Honesty and Truth. Honesty and Truth says fire at Althorpe House is wrong. It was at Dallington Grange farmhouse, not in the park. It is 5 miles from the Spencer estate, but Earl Spencer owns the property. Okay. Okay. Well, I'm glad that it wasn't the Althorpe house, and hopefully everyone is safe and the damage wasn't too much. I haven't followed the coverage too much. I saw the headlines, but haven't followed, since then. Sir Squirrelot, hi, says, "Hi, RV. Harry did not know his mother. He has a childlike myopic vision of her that is warped by his own psychosis." Yeah, and he probably also watches tons of footage of her and how kind she was, and how really she was good with talking to the crowds and um, empathizing with people and doing humanitarian work. Kate says what Megan did have was that she used the same perfume that Diana used. Yes, Kate. And okay, I have a side note here. So I was under the impression, so this is all allegedly, right? That Megan used the same perfume. I did a video about this. It didn't get a lot of views because I think maybe people thought it was one thing, but it wasn't. And in that video, I talked about why using the sense of smell is predatory. And I talked about how the sense of smell works, how it is the only sense that is directly tied in with I want to say, the emotional part of the brain. It bypasses logic. So using scent is incredibly a predatory thing to do. I wanted to know what Princess Diana's perfume smelled like. Okay, not to manipulate anybody, but I just want to know, what does it smell like? So I purchased it. It's Penhaligon's Bluebell is the name. When the box came, you guys, it's literally the As Ever Jam box. So that, I think, is where Megan got her packaging for her As Ever brand. You know what? I'm going to post it in the comments here. And sorry if I spell it wrong, but let me see if I can highlight my own comment. There it is. Yeah. So it's kind of it's more than just using the scent. I think she used the packaging also. Ivy agrees. She did write a lot of it. Carol says it's a book Megan can use for divorce proceedings. Yeah, where she will end with a better deal. Carol, no original thought in her body. Yeah. Yeah. And I think at first, people were speculating that it was the Kim Kardashian one, but literally it's the Bluebell scent box that is the As Ever Jam box. Okay, let's continue with this article. It says But instead of the sisters voicing their concern, it was Charles Spencer, Diana's brother, who weighed in. The Earl, who had been married 3 times, cautioned his nephew not to marry in a rush. His advice provoked a bitter reaction, Bauer wrote. This was going to be really hard, Harry would later reflect on establishing Meghan's place in the family. So I want to, this is something to really talk about, right? Because he his uncle is approaching him gently and cautioning him, and he got a bitter reaction. Now, that bitter reaction is not this statement, "This was going to be really hard," because it says here, Harry later reflected on that. So, we don't know what his bitter reaction was. We don't know what he said back to his uncle. It it could be anything, and to me, what really jumps out here is how it seems Harry's response was probably emotionally loaded. All his uncle did was give him some grounded, probably well-meaning advice, don't rush into marriage. And especially coming from Charles Spencer, who's been married multiple times, it doesn't feel like a shocking piece of advice that he would give, right? And it seems like this having this reaction of this is going to be really hard. That's not a reaction to advice, it's a reaction to resistance. And it suggests to me that they've already decided that Megan had to fit, that the narrative was locked in. So when reality pushed back, he didn't reconsider it. He dug in, it seems. To me, this is all a red flag and it's emotional projection. So I'm curious to know what you all think about that. Lisa said, but the US courts declared that you couldn't use spare to prove Harry took drugs. So how could another court use it? I don't think they can without being overturned. That's interesting, Lisa. I don't know much about how that would be used. I wonder if it depends on the different type of court, like, criminal court versus civil court, and I'm not sure. I would assume that divorce goes through civil court, but I don't know. I don't know, don't quote me on it. But maybe it can't be used, um, as evidence to deport him. Maybe it can't be used for that, but it can be used in a divorce trial. I don't know. If there are any lawyers here, please let us know if you know. So I'm going to ask you all 2 questions. The first is, do you think Diana would have seen any similarities between Megan and herself? And the second question is, if Megan did have a hand in writing Spare, what do you think got left out besides this? This will be the end of the clip that I'm going to post on YouTube. And YouTube audience, if you see this video and you want to find out what everybody responded to these 2 questions, please drop into the live video and I'm going to give you a timestamp of 32 minutes and 59 seconds approximately. That's where you can find the answers.